And welcome back to episode number 54 of Raise the Banner podcast. For now, it's two co hosts, McIntyre here as usual with Zach Brewitt. Benny Ballgame is MIA, but I'm sure he'll be joining us shortly. But we're going to jump right into it today. New England Patriots, Drake Maye. He made his debut this weekend. The team as a whole got their ass kind of kicked by Houston. But Drake May put on what I think to most to be a pretty solid rookie start debut. Um, Zach, what are your thoughts on the game as a whole, and then what you saw from Drake May?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said it. I mean, Drake May I thought was really good. Offense finally looked alive. I think last time we talked, it was Ben raised the question like, what do you deem to be a successful start? Like, does he have to win and play decently, or does he do you want to see him play well in certain situations? I thought he played really well. We finally saw Demario Douglas get involved and have like the big touchdown. Uh, there's someone else who was really involved. But like he looked really good overall. Their running game, I think, was the only part that was kind of lax. But again, Houston has a really good defense, and Ramondre Stevenson was out, so that was kind of to be expected. But yeah, I was impressed. Only one of his two interceptions I thought was kind of on him. It was the overthrow to Douglas on that out route. The other one was like tipped up on a screenplay. So that one I don't necessarily put on him as much as the other one. And then I didn't see the fumble, so I don't know if that was a bad fumble or not. But yeah, overall pretty good. The team as a whole, I thought the defense, especially the run defense, was exceptionally bad. I feel like Joe Mixon and Damian Pierce just kind of had their way. But again, they're two good players. So yeah, I was impressed. I would give Drake May a B, maybe B plus in his debut. Team as a whole, B minus maybe, but that's just because of the defense.
Yeah, well, the defense. The biggest issue with the defense right now is along the edge they struggle to stop the run. They don't, Gauja is good up the middle, but like Wise and Keon White, neither of them are dominant run defenders.
Yeah.
And when you put White on the edge, you're gonna get. Excuse me, we put White on the inside, you're gonna get him being undersized versus a lot of these guards. And he's getting a little bit overpowered in the run game. On top of that, they're missing Bentley tremendously. He's obviously, I mean, his specialty was against the run. That was where he's was, where he peaked as a player. McMillan has seemingly been getting probably the most playing time to replace him. I think that needs to change. I think Ellis needs to be taking up a bigger role. He's a little bit bigger of a player, better against the run. Basically, like their run game, like you said, was pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
And the D line is not doing a good enough job. And what that does is obviously expose the linebackers. Um, hold on. Sorry. Uh, the linebackers into, obviously doing a tougher job. We saw a couple plays where Taki, who returned this weekend, kind of just overran the hole that led to a big run. McMillan just kind of doesn't, make the play, gets himself blocked pretty easily, doesn't break through, and is able to make a stop, like a big stop when they need it. I think the secondary was overall okay.
Yeah, I would say that.
They had some up and down moments, obviously, but as a whole, you know, really not too bad. It was the run game that was the biggest issue. They ran all over the Pats. Offensively, Drake May, like you said, the first interception, absolutely on him. Like, it was a rather clean pocket, errant throw. Like, sure, it's absolutely on him. The second one, it's a tip pass, like it happens in the NFL. If it's something that is constantly happening to a QB, then maybe there's like a secondary kind of worry about it. But like stuff like that's going to happen. The fumble, I would probably put that only like 20% on Maye.
Okay.
I mean, Jacobs just got burned, like, destroyed on the right tackle, and the guy had a clean shot at Maye. So, should Maye be able to see that better, and at least just take a sack and not fumble? Yes, that's why I put a little bit of blame on him for the fumble altogether. But there he is. Benny Ball Game Dearth is finally in the building.
What's up, guys?
But anyways, yeah, no. So the fumble was a little bit on him, but he just, like I said, the right tackle Jacobs just got his ass kicked, and they had a free shot on him. But in terms of what you wanted to see for a rookie QB, it's exactly what we could have hoped for. Was he perfect? No, by no means was he perfect. He had obviously an errant throw and interception. He had a few shaky decisions, couple plays that he definitely could have been better at. But I mean, that the Butte pass, that's everything you want to see from him. That's what you hope to see from him, and that's what, when you see that from a rookie, you're very impressed to see that in the first game. Absolute dime to Butte. The second pass, I'm pretty sure it was to Henry. He got outside the pocket, found Henry in the flat for a touchdown. Solid play. And then the Douglas play, crossing that play is going to be the bread and butter of Douglas and Maye's connection. Douglas is borderline unstoppable going across the middle. There's very, very little, very, very few receivers that can consistently cover him on Douglas doing a basic slant route or a basic crossing route. Simply because he's quicker, faster, and he's just electric with his feet and with the ball in his hands. So that ball was placed perfectly. Dime right across the middle, hit him in stride, runs it into the end zone. Obviously, we saw the mic'd up versions of Douglas and all that. About pre and post that play. But again, it's everything that you wanted to see from Maye. I think you kind of hit it. I give him a B+ for a rookie performance, especially considering what we saw from Williams and Bo Nix and stuff in their first game. That's some heavy breathing, Benny.
Yeah, dude.
I was holding in a yawn. I didn't feel like doing that.
But yeah, no, he looked as good as we kind of could have hoped for. So Ben, what do you see from him? How are you feeling about Drake's first start?
I thought it was really good. Kind of what you'd expect out of a rookie quarterback. I don't know if it was the jitters or what, but looked obviously a little sketchy early on. The pick was on his fifth pass, I think it was. But I mean, again, overall, I think B+, A- is probably where I'd fall with it. Obviously you want a little bit better accuracy. I think he finished just over 60%. But not all those were necessarily on him. Polk had a drop. There was the batted pass that turned into the second interception, which maybe you give him a small fraction of a percentage fault on that because you got to be able to throw it over the defender, but that's not on him much at all, if any. But I mean, it happens to the best of them. So yeah, I mean, overall, and I know we talked about this, off the record, off the air, whatever you want to call it. There were certainly some, what do I want to say? It looks, there's a glimmer of hope, with what you saw. I try to
first time Pats fan felt moderately excited leaving a game.
And I say that a little lightly because I think that part of that excitement comes on the heels of the fact that Brissett was just that inept at his job. Not to say that, Brissett being bad makes Maye's arm better or his escapability better. It's just those are things he can do that Brissett can't. But I mean, certainly you can kind of see some light at the end of the tunnel. I think that, the hope that you see moving forward is that they can compete in these games. I'm not going to necessarily say that they're going to win. I mean, let's not forget they lost by 20 points on Sunday. But obviously, in terms of quarterback play, I liked what I saw. You saw, on Sunday what you expected to see, and what you saw in the preseason. The mobility, the escapability, the ability to extend the play, make a play. And obviously the arm talent's there. You just touched on it. The first touchdown pass to Booty, which was, you couldn't have walked over there and dropped it in a better location. And then, obviously Douglas makes the third touchdown happen. But just overall, I thought, what you'd expect out of a rookie quarterback. A little bit of bumps early, and that's tough to say that you can not expect that moving forward. Obviously he's only going into his second start, and it's granted it's London, but they're flying across the way. It's a road game. But certainly encouraged by what I saw, and I think that he's obviously only going to get better from here.
Yeah, at the end of the day, at the end of last podcast, I don't know if it was all of our state our takes or whatever, but Ben, you would ask, I talked about this before you joined. What do you want to see, or what would make it a good debut? We'd all kind of said a couple of flash plays, deep balls or big plays that we just haven't seen in the beginning of the season. I predicted the highest scoring, kind of game of the season. They beat that by 1 point, but I'll take that as a win for me. And then,
you are correct. You did predict that they would score. Jules. You did predict that they would set their single game highest point total. So
exactly. But then but it wasn't everything that we kind of wanted to see. It was flash plays, higher scoring offense, an offense that looked like they have been there before and actually knew how to play football. And one play that stuck out to me, someone touched upon it before, was the Jalen Polk drop third down that would have been a first down immediately. And I was impressed by everyone involved. Immediately the coaching staff said, go for it on fourth down. Drake Maye, believe it was a shotgun pass or shotgun snap. Didn't like what he saw, took off right away, juked out the linebacker and got a first down. I thought that was something that you would have never seen in the first 5 weeks. It just isn't Brissett's game to do something like that. And for him to do that in his first start, for the coaching staff I don't know if it was a trust thing with him or just, we're down by 20, go see what we can do. But either way, I liked it. I liked that they gave, the kid a chance, and liked that, he was able to not let the drop third down affect him that much, go out there in the very next play and come out there and get the actual first down. So all encouraging things, especially against a defense like the Texans that, we said before is a pretty good one.
Yeah, and I heard this on Felger and Maz today. One of the things that Bedard had to say that was, again, typical negative, but he had talked about, and I did agree with this point, is he was kind of on the coaching staff at the end of the game for not treating it kind of like a 2-minute drill and trying to, because they had all 3 timeouts, and granted, the game's out of hand, but they finished the drive on the 22-yard line of Houston. So I wouldn't have been against the idea. And I had a fleeting thought about this during the game about why not treat this as an opportunity for Drake Maye to go through a 2-minute drill, treat the game like, you're trying to score at the end of a half or at the end of a game, to either go ahead or tie a game, and try to, and utilize your timeouts and try to, scheme up a couple things to give him some confidence going into, again, not that he didn't need confidence necessarily, because it was not like he played bad. But why not try to get some momentum at the end of the game and feel good about, okay, we lost, but we didn't give up. We didn't just say, oh yeah, we're down 20 points, game's over, just pack it in. Bedard kind of felt that was a little bit of and I don't know if I fully agree with this part of it. He had said that it doesn't necessarily send the right message that the team's going to play, from opening whistle to to all zeros in the fourth quarter. Because I get it. At that point, the game's over. You don't want to risk injury or, something happening that impacts the rest of the season. But I wouldn't have minded them trying to be a little bit more aggressive and score and just feel a little bit better going into next week than just deciding to like just run the clock out and just not that they were surrendering, but like basically like just throwing out the white flag, being like, yeah, like game's over. We're just gonna go through the motions. Like maybe scheme up a couple things and just build into it going into next week, and just feel a little bit better about your overall operation going into. I talked about this to Matt like an hour ago. Like the Pats are 5.5 point underdogs to the only other 1-5 team in the NFL on a neutral site with a team who I think if they lose on Saturday, Doug Peterson's fired at 8 a.m. Monday morning. So like, have
Yeah,
that momentum going
I think they're
going into that
leaving
game.
Doug Peterson in London.
I mean, unless they win. We said the same thing about Bill Belichick a year ago.
Yeah, but Belichick had the tenure here. He wasn't getting fired midseason. But anyways, I agree with what you were saying down the end there. I was hoping that they tried to score and they played it, used the timeouts, and as much as they were down and weren't going to win, could kind of use it as a live learning situation. But obviously, they didn't. I'm not banging down the door and saying like that's awful coaching or an awful decision. Like it's not a big deal, either way. I think Greg Bedard has a clear agenda this week, and it's the very anti debut of May. He has been extremely strong. He came on Felger and Maz and he made the comments basically like saying like, no, he did not play good. And I'm just looking in the big lens and I'm saying, what do you expect from a rookie QB making his debut on an offense that has a mediocre O-line? Mediocre's a good way to put it, but a mediocre O-line. And
you got the rose-colored glasses on with that one.
Yeah, and a mediocre weapons at best. Like, what do you realistically expect? Of course he's not going to be perfect. Of course he's going to make some mistakes. Like, I would have told you, betting Drake Maye, over half an interception to throw an interception this past weekend, it was probably like minus 180 for a reason. Like, he was probably going to make a mistake or two, and he did. So it's just like, what do you expect from a rookie? What you got was, okay, the guy made an errant throw. Like, that was his fault. Like, the screen pass that turns into an interception, like, off a tip. Like, that happens to anybody. But then he comes out and makes the throws to Douglas and makes the throws to Butte down the sideline. And he makes the couple out routes to, I think it was Booty on the sideline. That was a really nice, decision and throw that he kind of fake pump short to the right and then hit the deep crosser along the sidelines. Like, what do you expect from a rookie? Yeah. So to come out and be like, oh yeah, he did not play good. He wasn't good. F that, bro. What do you expect for a rookie?
Yeah, and I think that this is kind of the overall narrative, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. He was on the side of things. He didn't want them to take Drake Maye number 3 overall. He wanted them to either trade back or take. I'm pretty sure he was in the take Marvin Harrison or trade back camp. He was not in the take Drake Maye. He was not a huge fan of the quarterbacks coming out this year, and it just feels like I was talking to a buddy of mine about this, or just earlier this afternoon. I haven't heard him say one positive thing about Drake Maye since he was drafted.
It's entirely possible he's trying to stick by his, opinion and ride it. So he's trashing Maye to make himself his original opinion look better.
Yeah. And so he had said, and I know we talked about this on social media, and I kind of get it, but at the same time, big picture, what's the point? Again, I understood what his point was. And Zach, I don't know if you heard Felger and Maz today, but Bedard basically said that, the overall point, which I'll lead with that first and I'll get into what Bedard said. His overall point was about why Drake, because he said after the preseason that he thought Drake Maye should have been the starter over Jacoby Brissett. That he would understand why Maye wasn't the starter, but that he thought, based on the fact that the team outright admitted that he was the better quarterback down the stretch, that he should be the week 1 starter, but he's like, I expect Brissett to be the starter because they're going to slow walk his progression. So he basically he said today that nothing out of Maye on Sunday was any better, was not noticeably better than what you saw at a Drake Maye in the preseason from a talent standpoint. He's like, I didn't see any difference in his footwork. I didn't see any different. He's like, he's not like he's throwing the ball harder, faster, or further. It's the same mobility, the same escapability, his ability to make plays with his legs. So he's like, if that's not different, then essentially, like, what was the point of slow walking Drake Maye? Now, again, I think and Matt and I talked about this, I think it was more about the mental side, about like reviewing film tape and identifying.
Yeah, of course
like,
it was.
Identifying that
no
part
one
of it.
expected like the dude to add like 7 miles an hour on his throw over like the month. Like,
so, but his overall point was like, if what you're seeing from the talent and the ability standpoint from Drake Maye now is the same as it was 6 weeks ago, his point was, why were you not starting in week 1? Because again, if you're going to deal with the bumps and bruises of a rookie quarterback, why were you not figuring out the bumps and bruises in week 1 when now you could have a far more competent, polished product offensively when you're dealing with the bumps and bruises at 1-4, now 1-5, obviously, but you decide, like, we'll deal with the bumps and bruises now and figure it out as we go along after 5 games have already transpired. And again, I think it was more about the mental side of things, because I kind of agreed with him. I didn't see, like, it wasn't like he was throwing the ball 75 yards
of course
Joe
not.
Milton. Yeah. So
it was never about the physical tools.
But no, it was always about how he can like diagnose a defense and whatever.
But I think to his point though is that during training camp and OTAs and rookie mini camp, a lot of the things they heard was, and again, I think that we're all probably of the same thought, that it felt a little overblown and kind of nitpicky because you're trying to find something to talk about. But the most talked about thing we heard was his footwork needs work. His footwork needs improvement. Footwork. So if they were drilling into our heads that the footwork is wrong and that's the development piece from the ability, that they don't need that, like, they love the arm talent, they love the physical traits, that like they're just going to hone in and figure out like what's wrong with the footwork, fix it, and then it's all about figuring out the playbook and understanding the offense at that point. But like, I mean, I'd have to really do a dive into film, and it's not something I would really do. But I'd be surprised if you looked at game film Sunday and specifically studied his footwork. I don't know as if you'd see a drastic difference to what you saw footwork wise, like at the end of his tenure at UNC or the early part of OTAs and rookie minicamp. Like, I don't know how much that really changed.
You probably didn't see a lot different.
So I like, and that kind of parlays into like what we've been hearing out of the team and out of the coaching staff is like, well, how quote unquote not ready was Drake Maye really, if the things you said you were working on in the summer aren't drastically different to what they are now?
Well, big picture, like, any QB that starts week 6 probably could have started week 1. Like that's being realistic.
Yeah.
There's nothing that Maye learned over the last month that was so monumental that like made a huge difference. That being said, like, and again, I've been very vocal that he should have started week 1. That was my opinion. I felt like he was ready and capable to do that. But like, they didn't sit him because they, just because his footwork or he needed to improve his arm or something, like anything like that. It was always, and no matter what they told you, and this is where like people like, oh, AVP said footwork, so I'm gonna take that as gospel. Or Mayo, for weeks they said, oh, it's not about the O-line, it's not about the O-line, and then Mayo comes out after the game Sunday and basically admitted the O-line played a factor. Like, in what world do we take the things that coaches say for gospel in sports? They lie and bullshit us constantly.
I mean, in today's day and age, there's so much emphasis on being first that being right falls by the wayside. So Alex Van Pelt says point A, and then you have inside sources that talk to the Greg Bedards, the Adam Schefters, the Ian Rappaports of the world, and they run with it. I mean, think about it. What was it, a week and a half ago? Greg Bedard was on and basically said that his inside team sources were telling him, and he said it in a vague sense, but that his inside team sources were saying that Drake Maye was still working on things in the offense and that he was, quote, a ways away from being ready. But then literally Brissett has another rough game. What was his last start?
Miami.
Miami, yeah. So then he has the terrible showing against Miami, and then we find out Monday that it's like, oh, there's rumblings that they might have a QB change in New England, and then like 2 hours later, it was Drake Maye is going to be the starter against Houston. So, like, that's the part that I take issue with is even the inside sources are feeding people information. I mean, clearly, if Drake Maye was a ways away from being ready, he wouldn't have started against Houston. So to some degree, there was some semblance of a plan that this was roughly a targeted time of the year that Drake Maye was going to take over no matter what, unless Jacoby Brissett was throwing for 350 a game and 3 touchdowns, which isn't due. But unless Jacoby Brissett was going for 300 plus and 3 scores and they're undefeated, well, then, of course you're not going to make a QB change. That's moronic. But big picture, I think that so many people are willing to take little sound bites from somebody, whether it's a team source or whether it's, a talking head NFL expert, and say, oh, well, if they're saying something, it must be true. And they're just running with a story without even necessarily corroborating it because they take the words from those guys, like you said, as gospel. They take it at face value to mean absolute truth.
Yeah, well, and obviously we're coming off a situation where Belichick didn't say shit for 24 years. So now all of a sudden Mayo's giving actual answers.
I kind of miss it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. But,
yeah,
like I said, like everybody knew that the O-line was playing a factor. Like, and of course, like the O-line, Mayo's not going to come out and say, yes, our O-line fucking sucks. That's why we're not playing Maye. Like, of course he's not going to say that. So obviously, like you're going to use common sense in these situations. So when Mayo comes out and makes these comments, and you're looking at trying to analyze Maye and if he's ready and all that type of stuff, like you have to look at it for what we know about Maye. And it was okay. Yeah, he probably needed to improve his footwork, but everybody, I feel like if you had a brain cell in new football, that everything from Maye and them deciding not to start him was sure a little bit footwork, but mentally, does he know how to run the huddle? Is he comfortable picking up the blitz schemes? Is he comfortable reading the defense pre-snap? Is he comfortable reading defenses post-snap? Is he working through his progressions? Can he find the open receiver? How quick is he sitting on his first read? Like all those type of things.
Yeah.
Everybody knew that is really what they were working on. And again, I felt like he could have worked that at week 1 and started and been okay to do that. But in terms of why they sat him, and this is why like the whole Bedard comment just kind of really makes no sense. Like, of course, his arm talent doesn't look different from the preseason. They weren't sitting there having him do bicep curls for the last 5 months.
Well, no, I mean his overall point was, it was more about the delivery versus the actual arm strength. Because
his footwork.
I didn't necessarily see it as an issue coming out of the draft, but I've heard like not, top scouts, but people that are NFL scouts say that they had some issue with his delivery taking too long. That it was not that it was mechanically wrong, it's just that he was too slow in the delivery. I've heard that a little bit, and I think that they talked about the delivery piece and the footwork piece.
A lot of this shit's going to improve over time. Like, and especially it's really difficult for a rookie because you're trying to like work him into the offense, get him to understand everything, improve on some mechanics, and like getting a rookie to improve on all these things at once and put it all together at once is pretty difficult. Never mind the fact that you're doing it against like grown men trying to destroy you, coming at you every game.
Right.
And so for Maye, a lot of it, I think, for the Patriots, in the priority is mentally. Like, okay, if he misses a throw because, his footwork is a little sloppy, or he doesn't step up enough into it, or he throws, off platform and he doesn't throw off the right foot, I don't know, whatever it may be, you can kind of live with that as a rookie, because those are little things that can be pretty easily fixed long term. What I want to see from Maye mostly is being able to control the huddle, make good decisions, and properly run the entire offense. I don't need him to have perfect footwork, or to have a perfect throwing motion, or to be the quickest throwing motion. I don't need that right now. I just want to see a quarterback that can show me what he did at UNC and do it at the NFL level. And then over time, that's when you improve on, okay, in the offseason, he played, what is this, week 6? So he played, 12 games or something like that this year. He had a solid rookie season. All right, this offseason, I'm going to drill and get my footwork in the right place. This offseason, I'm going to really focus on, strengthening my arm and getting a better arm angle, getting a quicker release, those type of things. Like, that's the thing. We saw with Mac Jones after his rookie season. He went and worked with, was it Brady House, I think his name is, or Tim House?
Tom House.
Yeah, Tom House.
I say Brady House because he was Brady's
quarterback coach.
Quarterback coach or something like that.
Yeah, I hope he didn't. I hope he didn't go to the Washington Nationals shortstop prospect and say, "Please teach me how to throw football."
Yeah.
Deep dive in MLB farm system tidbit right there.
Yeah. But yeah, like, those are the things that you can improve on over time. It really just came down to, can he run the offense comfortably without making this dumb, stupid mistakes where he can't call a play in the huddle, or he's delayed and screws it up and causes, delay games? Is he not being able to recognize and work within a pocket, and he's getting his ass destroyed because he's sitting back and not, avoiding sacks, stuff like that?
Yeah.
I'm rambling all that, but like that's the shit that pissed me off today. And Bernard went about it, and Felger and Maz were talking about it, and it's like, what do you expect from a rookie QB? It drives me fucking nuts.
They always have a negative spin. It's like it's the kid's first NFL start. Like, give him a break. And it's like, we're not going to expect this kid to come in and be the next Brady or the next.
Well, yeah. Well, Felger's biggest thing today, I'm driving home from work, and it's, what excited me about Brady was they were winning. And, what's the point of Maye going in there if they're just getting their ass kicked every game? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking of it, like, what? Personal development?
Yeah.
Like by his measurement, like, they shouldn't bother starting Maye because the team's going to suck. Like what?
Or you shouldn't bother getting any quarterback because no one's going to ever be Brady. I don't understand what that.
It made no sense to me. And like, he was like, yeah, no, what excited me with Brady, they were winning, and Mac and May's going to come in. They're going to lose all these games, and that teaches bad habits that, like, winning's not the priority. Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, what are we like? What
You're
are
the same person who also doesn't want you to win just enough games to have the 15th overall pick, because then you're in purgatory. So, like, he's trying to.
This is Felger that said they should have signed Kirk Cousins and or Justin Fields or something like that,
mm-hmm.
and they would have been a decent team, and then he would have bitched that they were just a decent team.
I was just gonna say, just decent enough to get.
You sign Kirk Cousins. If Kirk Cousins leads this Patriots team from week 1, they win like 7 games, maybe, maybe 6 games, 7 games, and they're with like the 12th pick, and the team again is stuck in purgatory.
And you it's he. I listen to him all the time. I don't know why. He just is stuck on my radio now, but he does like have these takes and quotes and thoughts that just they are contradictory and they don't really make any sense.
Yeah. So, what were your thoughts, guys, on really the coaching this weekend? Did you like the game plan that they threw out for May? And obviously we talked about the end of the game there and what we kind of would have preferred. But did you have any thoughts specifically on Mayo this weekend?
I mean, I liked what I saw. I think it didn't feel like they were trying to overly baby him and like just hand it off until 3rd and 10 and let him throw. It felt like we talked about it before, like deep throws, deep routes, the crossing pattern to Demario Douglas. It felt like there was an actual game plan, and maybe some of this was already in the game plan for Brissett. It just looked so bad that it like you couldn't even notice it. But I didn't feel like there was any like overly babying him. I think it would have looked a little bit better if the team was fully healthy and Ramondre was in. But yeah, I didn't really have any issue with it. I thought it was fine. Again, I think one of the things that really stuck out to me was again that 3rd down drop by Jalen Polk at the end of the game. Immediately went back to go for it on 4th down. Letting Drake kind of stay out there and not pulling him out too soon. So yeah, hopefully they keep it up. Hopefully they kind of let it fly with him. Because I liked what I saw. I felt like he was more prepared and better than I maybe expected him to be in his first start.
Yeah. I thought early on, and I'm strictly going off of the highlights that I saw over the course of the game. I had Pop Warner Sunday at 12, which I at least got to sleep in, but I missed most of the first quarter. But from what I saw, what I caught on the highlight reel, it looked a little too conservative to start, but I don't think that was like out of the realm of what to expect. Like you're not gonna most teams, I'm sure it's happened, but most teams are not gonna come out and say, "All right, shotgun 5 wide, first snap, first start of a game."
Yeah.
No, not for most teams in general. Never mind a rookie making his debut.
Yeah. So it felt a little conservative because it was like run on 3rd and long, and it was like okay, and I know that most NFL teams they script their first 15 to 20 plays because they're trying to feel out the defense anyway, and like maybe they make small adjustments. So having said that, I mean I'm kind of with Zach. I really liked what I saw. I thought that there's certain plays that maybe. And it's a big maybe, that maybe unfolded because May was able to extend him and he had more of an ability to accomplish certain things that Brissett just can't do. I know that they talked, and I say they, I'm talking about like everybody from Felger and Maz, Zolek and Bertrand, people on social media, were, the Patriots guys were saying that like where were the plays that they had success with in the preseason? And granted, Brissett wasn't playing much at all because they were keeping him healthy for week 1, but they didn't run a ton of like crossing patterns and in cuts and slants when Brissett was under center or when he was the quarterback. And I thought you saw a lot more of that with May. And I don't know if it's just you saw more of it because May is able to slide around in the pocket and move outside the pocket a little bit. And then
I'm sure they were running a decent amount. Brissett struggled reading going through progressions this year.
Yeah. And so I wonder how much of that was that versus how often they're actually running it. So that's because May can do things that Brissett can't with his escapability and mobility. I think that you saw certain things that you didn't see unfold with Brissett because Brissett just couldn't. He doesn't move like May does. But the things that they had the most success with in the preseason was Douglas, Polk, Thornton to a degree. I know he didn't play on Sunday. With crossing routes and slants and in cuts, and hopefully you see more of that. I thought that from the 2/3 of the game that I did see, I felt that the play calling was appropriate. They couldn't really run the ball. I mean that's not really Gibson's MO anymore at this point in his career. Hopefully Ramondre comes back for Sunday, and that's an element of the game that makes things easier for them. But I thought the game plan was certainly appropriate. As things go on, I'd love to see like more fun, creative things. I know it's not apples to apples, but like you watch the Lions Cowboys game on Sunday. I don't know if you guys watched that game on Sunday night, but like Ben Johnson's calling like, a wide receiver screen lateral to the right tackle to try to run it in for it. Like, I'm not saying
that felt very
they were just
targeted.
honestly at that point they were just toying with the Cowboys.
And of course it doesn't count because they had an offensive lineman too far downfield. But like, just getting creative with plays. I'd love to see more of that. Maybe they'll throw a quick screen to Douglas and lateral it to Mike Onwenu and let him just run in for a touchdown. But, I'd love to see them get more creative. But from what I saw, I thought that was appropriate. I thought that they called plays that played right into Maye's physical abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, I think we're going to see more across the NFL, more of these planned lateral plays. We saw the Pats run one. I think the Chiefs, the Kelsey threw one to, I forget who it was who we threw it to, P. Ryan, I think. And then obviously we saw that offensive line one as well. I think we're going to see that a little bit more often because it's a very dangerous, and by dangerous, I mean like could home run type of play. In terms, I thought AVP put together a pretty solid game plan. I think it would have been obviously looked even better if they were able to run the ball, but they weren't at all. Mm-hmm. So it kind of put a little bit more pressure on Maye, and on top of that, they got a good D line that can get after the quarterback. But I thought he did a pretty good job. Kayshon Boutte, is it Boutte or Butte? I always forget.
Boutte. I think I used to say Boutte.
It's Boutte.
So.
Yeah, Boutte. He was just on quick slants. They just came out on social media, and he basically kind of said he thinks the offense needs to be more aggressive. I think we'll see that. I think we'll see that as Maye gets a little bit more comfortable in there, and AVP gets a little bit more comfortable with Maye being in there. And I think they'll start to take a little bit more shots in that, and that's saying something because they took, he hit Boutte on a 40-yard dime for a touchdown. So I think if the O-line's been serviceable the last two games, which is certainly an improvement.
A big step.
They've been serviceable, which is what we talked about. That's all we need is serviceable right now.
But you say that, I don't know how much better the O-line was Sunday compared to the game. I just think it looked better because Maye can actually avoid rushes that Brissett just can't move away from.
I mean, perhaps.
I don't know.
The pressure rate was below like 35%, which
was it?
Yeah, it was.
I hadn't seen it because I know.
I want to say it was 30 to 35%, something like that.
So it was notably less than usual.
Yeah, because there were a couple of games, and I forget. I want to say it was week 2 or 3 where Brissett had like a 50% pressure rate.
Exactly. And if they can keep it around 35%, is it good? No. Is it serviceable? Yes. Like they can make that work with Drake Maye. So if they can get just serviceable pass O-line play, and they can run the ball, once Stevenson is back, which I would hope it's this week. Doesn't seem like it's going to be a long
hamstring that he's up with. What is he
ankle,
out with?
I think
ankle,
a little banged up.
So I just found it. The Texans got to Drake Maye 40% of the time. 40.4% was the pressure rate.
I could have
for the game.
sworn it was less than that, but I don't know. Anyways, they, if they can run the ball a little bit, they'll give themselves the opportunity to be a more aggressive passing ball. I think now you're finally going to see what Pop Douglas can be as a receiver. I mean, we saw it this weekend, and that was in Maye's first start. I think that if Douglas can stay healthy, he can be a very good football player, good receiver.
I realized his first touchdown was on Sunday. I thought I could have sworn.
He had Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones throwing the ball last year.
Well, yeah, but I thought he had at least like one because he was our only weapon last year. But
it's like Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers went like 3 years without a touchdown.
I think, and it's blasphemous to use the Brady Edelman comparison, but I think that in terms of a QB wide receiver connection relative to the wide receiver skill set, I think you could see similar stuff where, Douglas is running like I don't know what's I don't know what the fake slant out route is called, whatever that's called. That's the one that the go
Yeah, I
ahead
know what you're
touchdowns.
talking about.
Oh,
Yes, the fake slant run out, that one crosses in. Like you could see a lot of like what Edelman ran for a route tree. Douglas could absolutely replicate that.
I think realistically, Douglas can do it better. And by better, I don't mean he will be better than Edelman, because for two reasons: one, Drake Maye is not Tom Brady, and two, Edelman was a warrior going across the middle.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. The Douglas is a bit faster, maybe even a little bit.
Yeah,
quicker.
he's a bit faster, and a bit quicker.
I was gonna say he's not bigger than Edelman. He's definitely not that size. And
he's
Edelman's
a bit
not that
faster
big.
and a bit quicker. So I think he can do a similar, connection and all that, but I think he can be a little bit more explosive. Going on deeper routes, stuff like that. I think Edelman's, big perk on top of him being a phenomenal route runner was, like I said, he was tough as hell.
Yeah.
Edelman, and obviously he had the greatest quarterback of all time throwing in the ball, so he looked, even better. But Douglas and Maye, that connection, I think, can flourish. I was just talking to my buddy about it about a couple hours ago. I was like, Pop Douglas kind of immediately becomes a startable fantasy player. Like he's gonna be a guy that gets 7 to 9 targets probably every game going forward.
Yeah,
and in fantasy, that's good. That's going to end up being a good result for you as a fantasy player.
Yeah. So just to back up real quick, we talked about the pressure rate, but there's other stats in here. So this is that I want to bring up. This is from Andrew Callahan yesterday at about 5:30, posted on X, and he said, I finished charting Drake Maye's debut. I had him under pressure on 40.4% of his dropbacks and a blitz rate of 28.2%, excluding plays where penalties were accepted. And so he wrote, versus the blitz, he was 6 of 12 for 113 yards and 2 touchdowns, plus the interception. And then under pressure had him at 7 of 11 for 90 yards, and he was sacked 4 times while he was under pressure. So you figure when facing the pressure or blitz, 13 of 23 for 203 yards and 2, like that's pretty good when you're, for lack of a better term, running for your life.
Oh, I mean, most certainly. Again, he's going to get more comfortable.
Brissett would have been sacked 8 times in those same scenarios
with 4 completions,
and for like negative for like -8 yards and a fumble.
No, I completely agree. I think he was pretty good. Just pretty good overall. Like again, what do you expect from a rookie? And not to go in circles about that topic, but like what you expect from him and versus what the Patriots got, he exceeded them. He had 3 touchdowns as in his debut. The other quarterbacks in the NFL, rookies, had a combined 0. Like all 4 to start the year, 0. Rattler threw a touchdown pass in his debut on Sunday as well. So technically he's a rookie and did it as well. But I will say, and I was thinking about this the other day, my state your take from a couple weeks ago that Maye was going to start week 5 and lead rookies in touchdowns. I'm not saying that early signs saying that there's a chance,
the other day.
But there's a chance. I mean, the kid put up 3 in his first game. I don't even know what the numbers are. He's certainly, a ways behind, but if he can catch up slowly.
He's not as far behind as you'd think. I remembered I couldn't sleep last night, so I was looking up just stupid stats. And I remembered you saying that he was going to lead the league. So I looked up like Caleb Williams and the rest of them. I think the leader is probably like 6, 7 maybe. So because I don't think any of them had any
Caleb Williams going to be at like 7 or 8.
So Caleb Williams has 9.
9. Daniels probably got 8.
Daniels has 6.
6.
Onyx has 5, and then Drake Maye has 3.
So he's very. I mean, he's 6
right in the mix.
He's 6 touchdowns behind with 12 games to go. Is it likely? I don't know, because I think the Bear. I mean, I think Caleb's pretty good, and he's starting to kind of find himself.
Yeah.
But I think
and the offense around him is way better than it is
yeah.
here.
But I think May could absolutely still do it.
No, but we're seeing that now too. We're like, we said the same thing about, oh, this is a terrible draft class or not as good as it was hyped up to be with week 1 and 2. And then as they had their starts, as they kind of got more playing time, as they continued to,
Caleb looked
getting better.
Caleb looked awful in his first game.
Awful as his first game. But now what I'm saying is like they've had time to kind of settle in, get better, understand what they're seeing. So Drake Maye presumably is going to do the exact same thing. So
I mean, they got a pretty reasonable schedule coming up. They're facing Jacksonville, who is like aggressively not good. They get the Jets at home, I believe.
Yep, the Jets are home.
The Jets got a pretty good defense overall. Obviously the Pats got their ass kicked by them. They just played terribly the entire game earlier in the season. And they just added Devontae Adams. Yeah. But that should be that'll be a tougher matchup. But then they got Tennessee, who Tennessee's defense is decent, but nothing nothing special. You get the Bears, again, decent defense, nothing special. You got Indy, same thing. You got the Rams, same thing. Like none of these teams, Arizona, none of these teams like overly scare you. So, I kind of like the fact that they started him against Houston now that he came out, in one piece and looked solid, because he gets that like big punch in the face of adversity. And now the schedule kind of lightens up and we'll let him see if he can develop. Ben, you asked me like the Pats are plus 5.5, 5.5 underdogs this weekend. I smashed the under. I mean, excuse me. I smashed the money line. Like I'm taking the money line. I got it at plus 198 or something like that. 2-1 odds for the Pats. So I'll take that all day this weekend. Jacksonville sucks.
Yeah.
The Pats should, I think, have Stevenson back, but even if he's not, like they just performed relatively well against one of the best defenses in football. And so and against one of the, they got their ass kicked in the run, but it's not like Jacksonville has some godly run game either. So yeah.
I mean, it's hurt now, so
no, but I mean, any one of us behind a good offensive line would be wildly successful against the Pats running defense.
I mean, this past weekend, yes, they certainly need to improve on it. It wasn't as bad, in previous games. They weren't that good against Miami. The last two games is really kind of where it seems they
gave up almost 200 yards on the ground to Miami.
Yeah, I just said the last two games.
Oh, I thought you said Miami wasn't bad. I was like, they almost gave up 200 yards rushing.
The last two games that they've had, it's the Bentley effect. Like Bentley, Bentley was.
But he's been out since what, week 1?
No, that was week 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But didn't he get not week 1, sorry. Didn't he get hurt week 2? And then we found out he was done for the year? Like, it's not like he got injured yesterday.
I think it was either week 2 or week 3. Oh no, they played like 3 games, I think, without him.
And then I thought it was
the Jets game, but
yeah, I think it was week 3 maybe. Either way, him up the middle is a big hurt. I don't know if you jumped on, Ben, by the time we said it, but I think Ellis needs to take some snaps from McMillan and help in the run game there on that.
So Bentley got injured during the Seahawks game, and then after it was over, they announced he was done for the year.
Oh,
okay. So he missed the Jets game.
So he's been out. He's been out for 4.5 games.
The Brees Hall didn't do that much against them, right?
I don't remember him doing.
I think he had a decent game, but nothing like.
I think he kept going to Braylon Allen though, more so than Brees Hall, though, didn't he?
Yeah. So I can look at Braylon Allen and Brees Hall combined 27 carries for 109 yards and a touchdown.
I mean, that's nothing special. Like that's like 4 yards a carry. Like it's you run the ball 27 times in the NFL and you don't get 100 yards, you're not very good.
Yeah. So I mean they've been torched 3 weeks in a row by the run game.
Yeah, so it's basically been since Thing got hurt.
I didn't realize Bentley was that good. I thought he was just okay, but like in the run game, I guess he's way better than I realized.
Well, I think it's Tavai needs to be a little bit better. Taki needs to find his footing. Hopefully he can develop and find a role here.
Sounds like dinner.
And I think we talked about it, like their edge. They need to be better on the edge against the run.
Yeah.
Yes. But I don't want to. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But all right, next week we're going to talk. I want to do a bunch of Celtics because it's going to be opening day. But we'll finish it up kind of there. You boys got your state, your take. I told Ben I got a little bit of a juicy one, so I'll go last because I want Ben, both of your reactions. So Ben, you can start us off.
All right. So mine is a two-parter.
Okay.
And it'll be that we are going to wake up on Monday morning, October 21st, 2024. Black Monday for Jacksonville Jaguars head coach Doug Peterson will be fired come Monday morning. I will parlay that into that 4.5 months from now, Bill Belichick will be taking over as the Jacksonville Jaguars' next head coach.
Okay. All right. I told you mine's also coach related.
And you will see the return of Joe Judge and Matt Patricia as coordinators in that Jacksonville Jaguars offense.
No fucking way.
Coaching staff, not
yes.
offense.
Yes, I was gonna say McDaniels will be the OC. Dude, can you imagine if they hire Bill Belichick and he hires Matt Patricia to?
Oh my god, I'm a Jaguars fan.
No,
the only way that guy ever sees the football field again, Matt Patricia, is if he just continues to just.
I got a guy on social media that I'm sure you've seen me interact with, and I really only entertain him when I'm bored and I just want to troll with people.
Who is it?
It's like his name's like Kryptonian or something like that.
Oh yeah.
I've seen this guy.
And it's so funny. Like this dude will defend Belichick through thick and thin. Like it does not matter. He will Belichick is this guy's god. In the last 24 hours, it was him telling me that Belichick is good at drafting wide receivers.
I was reading this last night,
and I was like, "Dude, you can't be this stupid. You really can't be this stupid to think this." But anyways,
he drafted Edelman and Deion Branch as his only and then you couldn't predict Malcolm Mitchell, which is fair. But completely
24 years, his best three wide receivers are Julian Edelman, who was a quarterback who was literally a dart throw. Great, you saw a trait in Edelman, and it worked out. Props. Deion Branch, good pick. Other than that, your next best is Pop Douglas.
Yeah.
And he could end up being good, and it could be a good pick. But you're 24 years, and you got – wait for it.
Those picks are 10 years apart.
You got three, notably quality wide receivers.
Yeah,
that's it. And after that, who is the next best? Malcolm Mitchell. He played 1 year and he had banged up. He had bad knees and couldn't play again.
Aaron Dobson's probably the longest tenure.
Aaron Dobson, so you have three receivers in 24 years.
Ken Tompkins.
Yeah, three receivers in 24 years, and the best one is what was Edelman, a 3-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Pro Bowler.
I think he had 1,000 yards once in his career or something like that.
Again, I love Edelman.
No.
And he was a college quarterback.
Anyways, no, I like the take. I think Belichick has a real shot. I think he's going to my prediction is Philly still, but Jacksonville certainly is a possibility. It's kind of attractive to be able to go down to Jacksonville and take the reins there. And in Philly, in Jacksonville, there's a chance he could get full control as well.
Yeah.
Tom
Coughlin's still there in Jacksonville. He gone. Tom Coughlin.
I think he might be a consultant or something like that. I don't know if he's
he works for the Raiders as a consultant.
Tom Coughlin?
Coughlin.
Yes.
When did that happen?
I don't know. But since how you guys went down the Julian Edelman rabbit hole, Julian Edelman has, get ready for it, this many Pro Bowls in his career.
He didn't make any.
Nope. His
Jesus.
list of career awards. He is a 3-time Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl MVP. He is a member of the Patriots All 2010s team, a Patriots All Dynasty team member, and a second team All Mid-America Conference selection in 2006.
If you Google his past,
he
on branches, it'd be the exact same.
Yeah. Although, and that's on Wikipedia. Take it for a grain of salt, but Wikipedia does not list a single Pro Bowl, All Pro.
Well, the guy goes to name teams that are better, and I said Pittsburgh, and he's like, "Oh, well, Pittsburgh's only done like this guy, this guy, this guy." I was like, "You're casually like the list that he gave me." I go, "You casually didn't put in George Pickens, Mike Wallace, Antonio Holmes,
Antonio Brown,
Plaxico." No, well, he said Antonio Brown, but like Plaxico Burress, and there was one other. And I was like, dude, this team finds a quality wide receiver like every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
and they find him in like the paint section at the local hardware store.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, Zach, go ahead. What's yours?
I'll go mine. So we saw 2 wide receiver trades, both in the AFC East today. Devontae Adams goes to the Jets. Amari Cooper goes to the Bills. I predict that Amari Cooper will have a greater impact on the Bills than Devontae Adams will on the Jets. I don't think the Jets, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I think it's kind of the same. The Bills and the Jets are both the ones who are vying for the AFC East division this year. Jets have, even before Devontae Adams, had the better roster, and the Bills have had the better coaching staff, in my opinion, better leadership. I don't think the Jets have really any leadership. I don't view Aaron Rodgers as a leader. So I don't know that's going to make that much of a difference. And the Bills, I don't know. I couldn't tell you who their number one receiver is.
I mean, right now it's Khalil Shakir.
Okay.
I mean, it could be Coleman, but
that's what
No, I agree with you in the sense
fucker cost me a matchup against Matt this weekend. I'm still butthurt about that.
I dropped him
slap those cheeks.
If he had made one or 2 catches, I lost by 3 points.
Yeah.
And I scored 191 points and still lost.
Damn right, bro. 12-0 against it has the median matchups too. So 6-0 plus the 6 against the median. But no, I think obviously Buffalo needs Cooper more than the Jets necessarily needed Adams.
Yeah, and I wonder how it's going to affect like Garrett. I don't know that Garrett Wilson is a diva, but I wonder if this might.
I think it could theoretically help Wilson.
Think so?
He's not going to get much double coverage anymore. He can't get double coverage really anymore.
Can you imagine they just keep doubling Garrett Wilson and say, go beat us with Devontae Adams?
Yeah, exactly. And on top of that, like he's probably not going to get a lot of their number one receivers either.
Number one corners, you mean?
Yeah, excuse me, number one corners. So I think it could, his target rate has been stupid the last two weeks. I don't think he'll be seeing like 15 targets a game anymore, but if he could still see, 10 to 12 in their better targets, yeah, I mean, I think he'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But all right, for mine, Benny Ball game, you ready for this one?
Well, I don't have a hat. I'd say I hold on to my hat, but I'm not wearing one.
Kevin Stefanski will not be fired by the Cleveland Browns.
Spicy.
But will not coach for the Cleveland Browns next season.
So they're going to promote him?
Nope. I think Kevin Stefanski will force his way out of Cleveland to take a different head coaching job in the NFL next year.
So
I think that shit is turmoil. I think that he's goddamn sick of that situation there. And I think he should get his ass out of Cleveland before his own value and reputation goes down the hill. And so I think this offseason there'll be plenty of openings. And I could see a team like the Dallas Cowboys calling Kevin Stefanski.
It's Stefanski.
Stefanski. Why do I keep saying Stefanski with a K?
McCarthy's not getting fired.
Oh yeah, he is. They're
Nope.
not keeping him. They're not
Dude,
going to fire him mid-season.
Jerry Jones didn't fire Jason Garrett for 9 years. Mike McCarthy is not going anywhere.
Yeah, but the Cowboys were like good more often than not with Jason Garrett.
I mean, they haven't missed the playoffs under Mark McCarthy.
Yeah, well, they fucking suck this year.
I mean, they're 3-2.
No, they're not.
They're 3-3.
They're 3-3 now.
Yeah,
and they just got their ass kicked by Detroit.
I mean, to be fair, their entire defense is hurt. That's why McCarthy's not going to get fired, because Jerry Jones is stubborn to a fault, and he's not gonna fire McCarthy because he still needs a punching bag.
You know what? That's my second stake you take. That Mike McCarthy's going to get fucking fired.
Because what is Jerry Jones good at? He's good at keeping his own head coach in place beyond his, like, well, I don't know what the phrase is. It keeps him too long. He overcooks his coach because he needs a punching bag. He needs somebody to take all the bullets because Jerry Jones is also the GM. And if he doesn't have a head coach, he has to answer the question of why did you build a shitty roster and hand your head coach a garbage team?
Well, he could just make Stefanski the punching bag.
Yeah, he'll bring in Kevin Stefanski and say, "Here you go."
Yeah. Anyways, no, I think that situation in Cleveland, I think he could force his way out of there. I don't know what will happen in the whole situation because Cleveland will technically hold his rights, but obviously Jacksonville would be a possibility. Philly I think will end up being a possibility because Sirianni is going to get his ass canned pretty quickly, and then there'll certainly be other options. Trying to look through the Jets will obviously be an option. I don't know how that will all play out, but the Jets will certainly be an option.
Belichick's not going to the Jets.
I don't think McDaniel will be fired in Miami, but I wouldn't say it's a guarantee that he stays there.
He was. They had 10 questions with Greg Bedard today on 98.5, and that was Jim Murray's dark horse head coach firing for the offseason is Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, I think it's very possible, and I talked about this. It came up after the Tua injury, and I was like, Mike McDaniel is a dramatically overrated head football coach. Like, he has this like wildly positive reputation, and they have just been continued. And I know it's in part because Tua has been hurt, but they don't beat good teams even with Tua.
No, that was their fault.
That it was with Brian Flores, and they I know back to your point of Flores didn't get along with Tua, and Mike McDaniels does, but like the record is the record, and Tua's should be.
You know, that will be my third state you take is that Brian Flores will get a head coaching job this offseason. Anyways,
he's the Steelers D coordinator, correct? Steelers defensive coordinator.
Flores is in Minnesota.
Or is he Minnesota?
Minnesota. Yeah. He was on Pittsburgh after.
I was gonna say he was on Pittsburgh staff.
He was their linebacker coach for the year after he got fired.
He's in Minnesota now,
and then he took the DC job. But since he probably Zach Taylor could maybe get fired. I don't think. I mean, they're 2-4. There's an outside chance. I don't see it.
No, unless he completely loses the locker room, but it's not his fault that they're not paying Jamar Chase and that Jamar Chase is holding out for money that they won't give him.
Chargers are fine. I doubt Pierce gets fired from Vegas. Andy Reid's obviously not going anywhere unless he retires.
Sean Payton might be.
And then who else am I thinking about?
One of the other guys that was talked about on 95 today was Dennis Allen. If the Saints,
the Saints absolutely could be fired. Allen, I think he probably will be.
So they're 2-4.
The Colts job could be open. Like the Colts. I mean, I don't know if I would bet on it, but I think it's certainly possible that their job's open. Going to the NFC, Atlanta, no. The Bucks, no. They're actually props to Baker, dude. Baker's balling out. I love to see it down in Tampa Bay.
He leads the NFL in passing touchdowns.
Yeah, like good for him, bro. I love to see that.
And he's top 10 in yards.
Green Bay, no. Detroit, no. Minnesota, no. Chicago, no. Arizona, probably not.
No, they're not.
He was
No.
hired as commit, didn't they?
Yeah, well, I mean, it'll be 2 years. Like we see coaches fired.
Yeah. I thought they hired him this year.
Yeah.
So real quick, can you elaborate on why you think Stefanski doesn't get fired but forces his way out?
I think that there is, and this is just my gut feeling, I think that he and ownership or him in the front office drastically disagree on Watson. I think if it was up to Stefanski, Watson would be benched already, but he won't bench him because they won't let him bench him because of how much they're paying him. And that that would branch into Watson is stuck there. They're stuck with Watson for the next 2 or 3 years. Like they're going to need to, do something. And I don't think he's going to want to sit there and, listen to it and deal with it. So if he has a chance to get out,
that's fair. So just because I like to go down these rabbit holes,
I, for some reason, can't hear you anymore.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you.
No.
We had this issue when we first started, though, so maybe
go ahead and talk. I'll figure it out.
So the dead cap, okay, on Deshaun Watson, if they let him go between now and next season, is just under $173 million in dead cap money.
Jesus.
2 years from now, so 2026, it's 99.8. So realistically, because of how the contract is structured, because if I'm not mistaken, it's the whole contract is fully guaranteed.
It's all guaranteed, yeah.
It is.
They're
stuck with him. They have not only that, his cap hits are like 70-something million.
Yeah, so his cap hit, his cap hit this year was 27.9, which is whatever for an NFL quarterback. Like I feel like everybody makes that money now for cap hits. But next year and the year after, it's 72.9 million. And then that's the end of his contract. So like unless they trade him for nothing and they're willing to, well, I think if they trade him and eat and still pay him, do they have to absorb the dead money?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they're paying some of the contract, do they still have to absorb the dead money?
Yeah.
Or is it whatever they're paying him offset that's deducted from the dead cap?
I mean, you could see it on the sports track. Look at the scissor thing, and it will tell you like what the situation is. They trade. They're not going to be able to trade him. No one's taking him.
So so if you trade him next year with a post June 1st trade designation, the dead cap is. Oh wait, did I click on 20? That was 2025. So post June 1st, 2025. So what's that? 8 months from now, the dead cap is 26 million in 26.9 in 2025, and then 53.8 in 26.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so much like that they can't absorb the money to trade him because they're going to be paying him regardless. It's no one's going to trade for him. No one taking this dude on a fully guaranteed contract and paying him this money. So again, they're stuck with him.
It would have to be they'd have to eat minimum 50% of the remaining salary.
And even
then they'd have to take like a conditional 7th round draft pick.
Yeah, and if you're a team, like what's attractive about the dude sucks right now. Like he looks like a shell of himself.
But, I mean, it would have to be a team desperate for a quarterback that still believes in the upside and thinks that he's just being misused and has just won sports.
I guess.
Again, there's probably 2 teams on that list, and I don't know who they are, but it would be a small list.
But anyways, that's my feeling with Stefanski is I think that he is sick of that shit.
Yeah.
I think that he would have still have a pretty strong market in the head coaching world. And again, I don't know how it all work out. And maybe Cleveland says, F you, we're not letting you leave. And I don't know. But
unless it's so toxic that he basically forces them to fire him.
Yeah, he forces his way out. And a team, says, yeah, we absolutely want this guy and brings him in. And Kevin Stefanski is the head coach of a new football team next year. But without being fired, that will be pretty rare. So, All right, that's going to do it for this week. This was obviously a good pod. We'll be back next week. I'm going to try to we're going to have a big Celtic segment with opening night about a week away. So any final words, boys?
No, the future is bright with Drake Maye. Hopefully I know he's a rookie, but I dare I say that if they can't beat Jacksonville, given the current circumstances, it might be as bad of a loss than Miami, just because of how bad they are. So hopefully they can go back to London and not lose like they did last year. But yeah, future's bright. Obviously, the Bruins didn't win yesterday, correct? They lost 4-3, I think.
Yep.
But I think that better days are lying ahead. Obviously, Swayman needs to get back into game shape. But yeah, I mean, obviously, basketball season, hockey season kicking off, and you got two teams that should absolutely be vying for deep postseason runs. Obviously, I think Celtics probably deeper than the Bruins, but it'd be nice to have some competitive hockey, competitive basketball again.
Yeah. All right. Until next time, we're Raise the Banner. Thanks for listening, and go Pats, go C's. Hopefully the Red Sox spend money. Go Bees. Hopefully we don't have another doom and gloom crying for the Red Sox off season. So, all right. Goodbye.
Good night.
See you guys.